How's it going, YouTube? Coming again today with another video, and today, guys, what I bring to you is an IRL match between myself and Grimygo. I do appreciate the game's Grim. There was like 16 matches played or so. This is just one of them of Striker versus Swordsoul. I'm going to be talking about the matchup today as it's happening versus just talking about what did happen, because I want you to get a really good look into my thought process. I'm going to be speeding up the game a little bit because it is pretty long. I do really like this matchup, though. I played against Swordsoul so many times, so I'm very frequent on knowing the interactions. The deck has evolved a little bit if you haven't played against it lately. They play 3 Circle now, which is pretty cool because the best hand trap is Imperm Veiler, and you always have to adjust your deck to play around the best things in the format. So being able to play triple Circle, add the Shahana if they Imperm your Moyi, you summon a token, you can summon the Shahana and go right into your Chizao, and that's really cool too because it just kind of extends your plays and makes sure that they go off. The other thing too is that I've been hearing about a lot of builds, and me and Grim were talking about this too, that are playing both Circle and Vessel. I think that's pretty interesting. It's something that you don't really hear very often, but I would definitely be interested to know down in the comments below what you think is the better variant, if you'd run both Circle and Vessel or one or the other, just because I know that's basically the biggest argument in the deck currently, especially with the ban list coming around the corner. I'm really interested to see if it does get hit in any way. Like the Swordsoul won't get hit, but the Tennies probably will. I really want to know like how the deck is going to evolve and where it's going to go from here, right? So without further ado, let's hop right into our game here. I know that a lot of you have wanted me to record my IRL matches at like locals or record locals. I have not gotten to locals to say that they'll let me record yet, so I've really been struggling on that end to find one that will, but when I do, I'll be able to do that way more often. I have some of the equipment to let me do that, but I just don't have a place that will actually allow me to. So I have been working on that, and hopefully soon. So we're going to hop right into our match here. So we're going to be seeing the die roll pop off. I'm going to lose the die roll, unfortunately. That's just something that happens, you know. I feel like I always lose die rolls, but that's why I love playing my go second list for Striker, because at that point you're like, oh no, I lost the die roll, you know, like whatever shall I do? Until they're like, you start, and you're like, what? And you're like, I just drew Mind Control Regeki. This is not fun anymore. This happened to me a couple times, but then there's like times, right, where I go like Ray engage and then just set up a huge board anyways. So there's a couple different ways that could go. So we're going to see him go the Moyi, reveal Long Young. You can only imagine like he's going to grab the Blackout. And here it's just kind of been a really big board to deal with as usual. And it's not even like a big board. It's a pretty average board if we're being honest. The entire thing dies to Afterburner, Chain Chalice. Like, so if you target the Chizao with Afterburner and then they chain Baron and you chain Chalice, the Chizao dies, the Blackout's dead, and the Baron's not a negate anymore. So like 2 cards deal with the whole board, which is my favorite. It's just super fun to do, right? So he's going to here and reveal the Long Young and send a Moyi. I'm going to drop the Nibiru. That's such a good card. I remember when that was printed, and it was just like the craziest thing. So it looks like he's thinking, he's probably chaining Circle here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So he's going to chain the Circle, tribute the token, just so he gets more defense on the rock. So I can't just like swing over it, right? Which is smart because I can just go like Ray, swing over the rock and like the token, and then go into a Link. So he's gonna grab the Protos here, which is fine. We're acting like he doesn't know what I'm playing right now because it's a game 1. And typically you want to do that because if you try to play around somebody game 1 because you know what they're playing, that's a horrible way to test. Also, if like it goes wrong and they're playing something else, then it goes even worse for you. So never just assume that you know what they're playing. Like, it's just like a really bad way of thought. So he's going to call light here, pop my Nibiru, pop the token. He didn't call dark, which unironically I have a drone in hand. So that was really funny to me because if he called dark, I would have been absolutely out of it because my drone is a dark monster if you were unaware of that. Desire's getting Mouth and Ash here is kind of an oof. We're going to go ahead here and use the drone, though. He has 2 back row. I was afraid of, like, a Blackout, but, like, if you only maintain 1 card in the field, then you're fine. So that's where my mindset kind of was. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not trying to, like, commit too much. Attack directly here with the Hayate. Again, if you're unaware with Blackout, you have to target 2 cards. So as long as you don't commit to, you're fine. You can't do anything about it, right? So he's just kind of looking at grave here, not much more. I'm thinking about what I want to send. I'm probably going to send multi-rolls here. It's just a really good way to kind of tempo out the game. You want to get multi-roll in your hand ASAP, because there's not a good time to go for setting up your back row when you know that there's potentially a blackout in their back row, which we do know it's back there. And so what you really want to do is try to bait that blackout as much as you can. And once you do, you can go ahead and commit your roll to the board, and then you can start setting up your Shark Hand and Widow Anchor. So what's important about that is, as you can see right now, it looks kind of grim for me. He has some stuff in the grave. He has a Protos. He has double back row, a card in hand. Like, this deck can come back and kill pretty fast. So this is something where you kind of have to think on the fly and say, you know, like, okay, what more can he do to me right now if I try to commit my board? Can he really kill me? I didn't think that he had too much right now, especially with just one in hand. So I just went Shizuku here. I didn't want to commit my multi-roll again in case of the blackout here. He's going to chain the Chalice as well. Ashing Desires, Chalicing my Shizuku, both very unfortunate. But I don't want to commit my multi-roll just yet, because I want to wait till the game state is simplified. And then once it's simplified, you set up Anchor, Shark Cannon, nobody comes back from it. Like, if you have 3 spells in grave and you set it up late game and nobody comes back from roll, it's just crazy. Because when you're both top decking and you can keep recurring an Anchor, it's just the deadliest thing this game has to offer. It's also really solid to bait negates with. So if you think that you're going to live here, you hold the roll, and then the first thing you do when they summon like Baron is you activate roll and you target like a set afterburner, and then they'll negate the roll with the Baron, and then you just turn around and activate the burner that you had set that you're trying to target, and then you kill the Baron. They will always negate multi-roll. So you can set even like talents if you're playing talents, and you go multi-roll target talents, they'll negate multi-roll, then you flip talents because they just negated multi-roll, and then you steal their monster anyway. Oh, it's adorable. I've done that so many times. It's so good. I don't play talents anymore, but like when I did, that was the best interaction I've ever seen. Super, super fun. So he's going to go out here and summon Taiye. Boxia would be not the best here. If he has a monster in hand, then he could potentially kill, because he could spin my Shizuku because I have no monster in grave, and then go and summon back the Moyi. Go for a pretty big blowout play here. I'm pretty sure he was afraid of a second rock. I'm pretty sure. No, I think that was game 2. We'll get into that when it happens. At some point, I end up with double rock in hand, which was funny. Because he's like, I know you have a rock. And I was like, 1 rock. And I was like, the more you know. So that was funny. So he's going to go here and go into the Chizao and going to send the Adhara off the Taiye and then add the Longyang. So maybe he didn't already have a worm in hand to go for the Moyi play. Who knows? But we will see here. He does have a back row still. Very tempting to know what that is. He's going to go Protos effect here, and he does call water. He just wanted to go for damage. So that's where my Shizuku will go. I also only have 2 spells in grave too, so it's kind of rough, especially if you have no spells in grave and it's like mid-game. A lot of times you just lose. Like, having spell count, this is why I play so many spells and like no monsters almost at all. That's because the more spells that you have in grave, the more meaningful your top decks are. So if I already have Ray in hand, a top deck Anchor, it's game time. Like, we're going, you know. That's really important. And like against a board like this, you always have to steal the cheese out, because it can negate another monster on the board, so they can like just chain cheese out and like negate their own monster, which is really important to know if you're ever using your Anchor against Swordsoul, that you have to make sure that it's meaningful, because if you do that and they chain cheese out, you lose your Anchor. Like, it just fizzles. The Desires is going to pop off here. He probably should have done that beforehand if he's trying to kill, because he would have gotten to another worm potentially and being able to make the Baron off the long. But who knows? He probably has something in mind. He might have some hand traps. He might still have that blackout, which we'd only assume that's what that is. So he has a negate. He has that. He has the Protos. I can't go into a Shizuku again. He has 4 cards in hand. He's in a very commanding position right now. Things are looking pretty grim. I have some cards in hand. I have nothing on board. I'm going to go ahead and summon a Ray. I'm going to go ahead here and go Hayate and go for poke damage. The more poke that you can get, usually the better off it is. Because with this, it's so important just to try to get as much minimal damage and spell count as possible. So I'm going to do 2 things here. One thing is I'm going to throw Engage in the graveyard. What's important about this, though, is because when I go for my Kagari, he has to negate Kagari if he has anything. Because there's no way you let my engage pop off, right? Because no matter what I search, when engage goes to the grave, I have my third spell immediately. This is why you don't need to like try to get the draw off engage. Like if you can just make engage the third spell and make whatever you search live, it's worth it. Don't greed the draw. You don't need to do that. Another thing is that with engage in my graveyard, one really cool play that you'll see me do a ton is I'll go Kagari target engage, and then they'll chain like Chizao, and then I'll chain Anchor on top of it. I always will save my Anchor usually for whenever I'm trying to use the Kagari effect. What's really cool about that too is it baits the blackout here. Because, so if you target their Chizao, they will chain the blackout just to pop your monster because they don't want their Chizao stolen here. So when they use it, I'll force out 2 cards. So I force the negation and I force the blackout, and you'll kind of see how that runs out here. It's actually like super 5-head because you got to figure out like how do you make your cards the most value, and this is just one of the ways that you really can accomplish that. So he's gonna go out here and try to use the Chizao. I'll chain Anchor. And then he's going to go out here and flip blackout and then target my 2 cards that I control. And we trade 2 for 1. So that's very, very good. Summon back Ray, get engaged. That's all we've ever needed in life, right? So I'm going to go out here and summon the Kaina because we need to go and Zeke away this Protoss just to make sure that it doesn't stay on board here. So we're just going to target it too, just because getting that hot 200 off the Kaina, you know, super, super nice. That's always something that a lot of people forget about, but it's just a nice effect to have. Go ahead and get that draw, get that Widow Anchor as well. Super, super nice. We're going to be thinking here about the, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead here and get the Shark Cannon to summon out his Adhara. This is really important too, just to get rid of the Protoss, because I don't want to get my board pressured any more than it already is. I already can't go into a Shizuku, which is kind of awkward here, but it's kind of fine. You already know that I have an Anchor in hand. I'm going to go out here and set a Shark Cannon 2 off of my roll. It's a point to where I didn't use my multi-roll to set my other Anchor because I needed spell count on grave, and if I pulled 1 then on the follow-up turn, so like in end phase on his turn when I go to set an Anchor, I want it to be immediately live. And I would, if I grab my Anchor now and I use both of them, everything would be banished and I would only have 3 spells in grave, and so even if I grabbed my engage back, I just wouldn't have a live engage. So that's for me where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna set 1 because I'm gonna lose card advantage if I don't, because if I can set my other Anchor in the end phase now, I'll still have 3 spells in grave, so immediately can steal like a Chizao or threaten a Baron, because you can go like multi-roll, target your set, chain your set, right? So that's another thing that's like really, really important here. I feel very good in this position. This is another thing too that we were talking about, where you have to know when to commit your multi-roll, because if you're feeling like you're behind in card advantage, wait until the game state is more simplified, and then you can go ahead and just kind of go for that multi-roll play where you can set up the Widow Anchor and the Shark Cannon, and then you're in a way better position. Summon number 3, by the way. And not Chizao, sorry, Long Young. So I'm going to steal the Long Young and then chain the Shark Cannon and banish his Adhara. And this would be, I believe, a normal summon of Moyi. He's thinking here. He just have the Ashuna. That would lock him into Worms, though. That's honestly probably the hardest thing to think about here, though, is do you want to get locked into Worms? So he's going to go out here and grab his Vishuda. I think that's probably fine here. I think he banished his Shahana. Yeah, he only has like 3 cards in deck. So it's kind of rough here. He's going to normal send out the Mo Yi, and then he's going to get Nibiru here, I believe. Yep, so that was me counting out the summons for him. So we're going to go out here and take away my Zeke, summon out the Big Rock. Definitely token going in defense here, 100%. No way else. Just counting up how big it is. We basically just said that the token is essentially game at this point. I'm going to go out here and watch my multi-roll get bounced by Vishuda. Draw a card. The multi-roll bounce didn't really matter. It kind of sucked, but we're just going to go ahead and clear out my Nibiru, Burner, Ray. Like it was enough. It was enough. It was crazy. Ray, I was roll, Burner, Ray, and it was just like the best thing. I was just staring at my hand like, well, that's it. That was crazy. So he's gonna go ahead here and start activating the emergence off rip here. I'm going to go ahead and think about this first, grabbing the long young. Yeah, so he just wants to make a big board here. I remember this game was rather rough for me. My hand wasn't the greatest. I ended up banishing a ton off of my desires. Like, I'm not even kidding. It was the worst desires banish I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like engage, roll, double anchor, like double widow, or not widow, double burner. Like, it was the double ray. Like, it was literally everything you could have ever wanted in Striker just gone. And I was like, that's crazy. So, you know, just innocent me here, just waiting to play and then doesn't even know what's coming. It was funny too, because I have a pretty good poker face, but like when I saw what I banished, I was like, man, that sucks. Like, you just gotta just keep going. You gotta keep playing. You just start thinking about the next big play you can do, right? Because sometimes it does get pretty tough. Desires is a necessary evil, though. Like, we have to play that card because of the card advantage it gives you. It's pretty insane what it can do. Especially going second, you get the 6th card in your hand, and it's just so impactful. And you already get a spell engrave off of that too. He's going to here summon out the Baron, get the Vishuda, go Chizao. Chizao here is going to grab, I believe, the Blackout. He might have decided that out. Let's see. No, he's going to get the Blackout. And then Taie send the Moyi. Sometimes people will actually just like side out the Blackout because they think that it's not as impactful. I've seen that happen a lot, actually, in favor of things like Twin or Cosmics, because against Striker, or even like Dusters, right? Against Striker, the back row isn't as reactive as it used to be, because cards like Shared Ride aren't even that important anymore. So making sure that you have an answer for things like the there can be only ones, and what have you, or especially like the set D barrier to make sure that you can't play the game. You just need these other blowout cards like Twins to make sure that you can actually like play the game, right? So he's gonna go out here and summon out quite the bit. So he has the Baron. It was funny, we were actually joking here about the potential Nibiru, and I see the Baron on his board, and I know that he did that before I was able to even do anything with Nibiru. So he's just kind of thinking about his play here. He already has Chizao, he already has Baron. He's going to go out here and summon out the Berserker. So it was quite the board. It was quite the board, which, you know, is fine. It's all right. He's just kind of thinking if he wants to go Monk here, he's going to go Monk. Just for fun, I'll go ahead and reveal the Nibiru in just a minute. You got to do it at like the end of the turn just because they don't want to lose their board. If you do it preemptively, then they can like do like other plays and like try to play around what else you could have, right? And like not prioritize the Baron at that point. So he's going ahead and negating the Nibiru. I'm over there smiling it up because we were joking about the Nibiru in the first place. Like, man, if you had it, that'd be crazy. And then I revealed it, and he was like, yeah. But you have to trade with the Baron because at that point, there's no reason not to. He's going to go out here and use the Baron just to get rid of it because it's not going to do anything anyways, and you want to have that for follow-up, which is really smart here. You want to make sure that you do have some kind of follow-up with that. So I'm looking at my hand now, and then I'm like, all right, what do we do? And so I activate the Deadly Desires. This was the craziest desires I've ever seen. Like, look at my face when I look at this here. Like, I just have such a nice poker face that I was just kind of like, oh. I was like, well, that's unfortunate. I was like, that's actually is terrible. But so I'm really just looking at my hand now, like, wow, I really just don't do a whole lot here. Gonna go out here and try to like blind hit something, hit the Blackout, which was pretty solid. He gets another token here. This was pretty crazy because my hand really wasn't that good. Gonna go out here and Shark Cannon, banish Vishuda. Now I have spell count. Sometimes you just got to trade Nibiru with the Baron negate because that means that like if I had a Regeki right now, his board would be just absolutely dead. So that's something important to think about. So Burner going to target the cheese out, is going to chain Heavenly Dragon, which was really insane here, just being able to get more advantage, and then not being able to capitalize off of a nice back row pop. It wasn't like an imperm or anything. So that was just good card advantage on his side. Things are looking pretty grim for me right now. I'm looking at this Berserker. I'm like, well, that thing has a live banish on it. I don't have a Ray Engrave, and then, so I just imperm it right away. Not even that big of a deal here. I'm going to go Hayate and summon back my Rose over the Monk. Now, this was actually a misstep. I don't know why I didn't do this, but I just like did an attack over a token. I'm pretty sure I just saw the writing on the wall anyways, and I just wanted to see what I got off my Area Zero because, I mean, it was pretty much going to be GG with what's in his hand right now. He has a ton of extension. I believe he has a starter in Longyang. Like, it's just like way too much, right? And, gonna go out here and target it, get a Shark Cannon, which isn't really doing a whole lot here. His Berserkers are already negated too, so I can't even like steal that. So it's kind of tough. I'm gonna go out here and go and grab my Anchor. Just kind of thinking now, I'm going to set 2 and then go into my Shizuku and then try to grab, I believe, Ngage. I believe. Oh, no, I banished that. That's way gone. I'm going to grab another Widow Anchor. So this is nice because I just feel like I have at least some kind of follow-up for him. But when you already have tokens on board in a Mo Yi and you can just like start off with the Synchro, it's just like, it's curtains, right? It's pretty much just reps. So that was unfortunate here. So he's going to go Dragite. He has the Berserker already and a token. Which is pretty crazy, honestly, because this is just like a ton of advantage. He's going to go out here and get his Heavenly Dragon Circle too, to go ahead and search out a Tenyi. I'm just going to scoop because this is just way too much. We're going to go into game 3 here. I'm feeling pretty confident. You know, we're back on my turf where I know who's going first. So I made him start. I have all my cards in. I'm ready to go. I'm usually always set up for going second regardless. Having those Nibirus in the main deck too. Gonna go ahead and imperm right away here. He's gonna set 3 cards. I was like, oh my god, you know, like there's so many. Io, Annie's spell, take your pick, you know, like this could be tough. So I go Hayate. Nothing's interacting with me yet. I'm very surprised. Hitting over that Monk just to get rid of it. Gonna go out here and send, I believe, Burner to get rid of the Taie, so he can't just go ahead and start with his Taie again next turn. Another thing that you could do is if the Burner doesn't resolve is you can just go Shark Cannon and then banish his Monk so he doesn't have anything to banish. So that's another thing too to think about, but it's still really optimal for him just to go like Longyang or something, right, and just pitch a card. But you got to know that all of his cards are set too, so it doesn't really have that much. I'm going to go out here and send the Burner. I need to get rid of this Taie as fast as possible. Go the Kagari route here is going to get imperm. That's tough. That's not good here. So I'm going to go back into my Shizuku. That was just unfortunate. That was an imperm column. I totally messed that up. That was bad. Unfortunate. Again, sometimes you just oversight things. It happens. It's fine. This is just testing too, so this is something where if you ever do that, just make sure that you don't do it at an actual event. This was, I believe we played like 16 matches on this day, so there's quite the bit of playing going on. So a missed player too is bound to happen. So he's gonna go into his Chizao, and then we're going to see the ad, I believe, of the Longyang. Let's see what he adds here. Long's always a good thing to keep in hand. Looks like I have 2 cards in hand, a Shizuku on board. It feels pretty good. Taie is going ahead and dumping the Ashuna. Yeah, he's going to add the Longyang. That's just a card that you typically want to keep in your hand as much as possible. So we will see what else he has up his sleeve. And revealing that Longyang and pitching the Shahana. Summon out token. I'm going to go ahead here and burn for 12. The burn effect is actually unironically insane. Like, it hurts so bad when one Baron, one Chizao, and one Monk is 68, and then you burn for 12, and it's exactly 8k. That had to have been planned. Like, they had to have known, right? They're like, they're going to be playing Monk in this deck, and then, like, they just made sure that it was exactly game. It's kind of oddly satisfying, I'm not going to lie. Burn for 12, summon Monk, make Baron Chizao attack directly for exact game. So he's gonna go right here. He's thinking about summon Baron, or if he wants to go over the Chang, I believe, the level 10. The level 10 would be insane here because you could banish my Shizuku and my Rei and just attack for a game. That's what he really wanted to do here. And then he ended up getting punished for it. Drop rock. Pretty insane. Yeah, I ended up having double rock in hand at this point. So it's kind of funny because he was like, I know you have rock. And I was like, you know, I have one rock. And I was like, the more you know. Just like sitting on double rock, I was like, man, this is unfortunate. I literally need a right here. This is where the heart of the cards meets the GGYGO, you know? So I draw desires, and then look at my face here in the bottom left-hand corner when I get my draw. I was like, yup, summon Ray. Like, it was fantastic. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Being able to draw Ray off the top of the deck is one of my specialties, you know. So it's always so much fun to do, especially just playing Striker for so long. It feels so rewarding whenever you see Ray. You're like, man, that's crazy. So we'll be doing more of these types of matches in the future. If you do like this kind of content, definitely let me know down in the comments below. Again, sometimes there's misplays. We're all human. It happens. But that's why we perfect them, and we don't make sure that we make sure that those don't happen in a later event, right? We make sure that we get those out of the way. I really want to do more content like this, but we will get it out as we can, and wherever I can really record. So I hope that you all have a wonderful night. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you all so much.